Dear students, in this chapter, that is about the application of the derivatives, we have learned something about the first application, that is tangents and normals. In this one, first we learnt about the geometrical meaning of dy by dx, which is actually the slope of the tangent. Dy by dx geometrically means the slope of the tangent drawn to the curve at a particular point. So, taking the slope to be m, we could get the equation of the tangent, and also taking the slope of the normal, which is a line perpendicular to the tangent, as the taking the the reciprocal of the slope of the tangent and changing the sign, we get the slope of the normal also. So, we can get the equation of both the tangent and normal. So, for a 1 mark question, you can expect the problem where we find the slope of the tangent or the normal. For a 2 mark question, some condition would be given, like a tangent is parallel to a given line or x-axis or y-axis. With the help of that one, you can calculate the points on the curve. And the third type of problem where you can you have to find the equations of both the tangent as well as the normal, that's usually given for a 3 mark question. Now we move on to the next application, which is known as the increasing and decreasing function. Increasing and decreasing function. First, generally, what general meaning I will tell you, what do you mean by increasing, decreasing, then we will come to the particular, either increasing or strictly increasing, like that. Now, there is a theorem here. So, using that theorem, we work out the problems here. So, here only today I am explaining and working out a few examples. Now, generally we can say that, suppose let us consider some curve here, say y equal to fx, some curve y equal to fx. Okay. Now, you know that in this one x is called as an independent variable, y is called as a dependent variable. Now, let us give values, as and when we give values for x, now we get values for y also. Now, let me give values for x in an increasing order, that is in this direction. As you know that if you go backwards, the values of x would be decreasing, here to the right it would be increasing. So, give the values in the increasing order. You give the values for x in the increasing order. So, when x is increasing, suppose y is also increasing, we generally say it is an increasing function. Understand? When x is increasing, as x increases, if y also increases, it is called as an increasing function. I am giving the general definition, general meaning of that one, that is all. Similarly, suppose x would be always increasing, that means we give the value for x always in the increasing way. Suppose as x increases, suppose the y value decreases. For example, when x is equal to 1, y may be equal to 10, x is equal to 2, y may be 9, x is equal to 4, y may be 6, like that. You can see that the values go on reducing, they are decreasing, isn't it? So, x will be always increasing. If y also increases, it is an increasing function. If y decreases, it is a decreasing function. This is the general definition or meaning of an increasing and the decreasing function. But here we usually define the increasing function or the decreasing function in a particular interval. Now, let us consider a function y equal to fx. Let y be equal to fx be some function, it's given, it's a given function, let us consider. Now, here let us consider an interval in the domain of f. Now, the formal definitions I am giving now. Let f be a real valued function. Let I be an interval in the domain. Domain, whatever may be the domain, I consider only a part of the domain, an interval which is in the domain of the function. So, let us consider a function which is a real valued function, and let I be an interval. And let I be an interval in the domain of the function f. Now, here 4 ways we define. That is, now if x1, let us take 2 numbers here, x1, x2 belonging to the interval. Now, let f be a real valued function. Let I be an interval in the domain of the function f. Let x1, x2 belong to the interval. This is the data. Now, how do you define? See, x1 less than x2. What do you mean by that one? Just now I told you the value of x increases. That is a meaning I am giving in a formal way. x1 less than x2 implies f of x1 less than or equal to f of x2. See, we write the function as y is equal to fx, correct? Now, when you give the value x1 here, y would be f of x1, that is one value, and y would be f of x2. So, x values are x1 and x2, y values are f of x1 and f of x2, that is x1 less than x2. Here always I use the strict inequality, that is x would be continuously increasing. x1 less than x2 implies x1 is less than or equal to f of x2. So, we call it as an increasing function. I am giving the definition. It is an increasing function. Now, I am not, see, there are two ways of defining this one. One is increasing, another is strictly increasing. Both of them I am giving with the help of a diagram also. Now, if x1 is less than x2 implies f of x1 is either less than f of x2 or equal to f of x2. We call it as an increasing function. And how do you draw the graph of that one? It would be like this. See, there is an equality here. See, x would be always increasing like this. I am considering an interval here. So, only in the, see, f may be having a very big domain here. I am taking a part of that one, an interval belonging to the domain of the function. Now, in that case, now, the function may be increasing like this, and here because of the equality, it may be lying like this. That means the value remains a constant, again it may be increasing. We call this as an increase, that is why equality is there. See, x1 less than x2, see the value of x is continuously increasing, you can observe here. First it increases, because of the equality it maintains the same value, that is y value is maintained same, then again it increases. Okay, this is called as an increasing function. This is called an increasing function. How do you define that one? x1 less than x2 implies f of x1 less than or equal to f of x2. This is called as an increasing. We say that the function is said to be increasing on the interval. So, I am taking only a part of that one, not the whole domain here. So, we define, generally we can say as x increases, y increases, it is an increasing function. As x increases, if y decreases, it is a decreasing function. But here, generally I can say that one. In particular, formal definition, we consider an interval, and in that interval, what happens? How does it behave? That's what we are going to tell here. So, as x1 less than x2, that means one value is less than the other value, that is, in other words, as x is increasing, that is the meaning of that one, and f of x1 would be either less than f of x2 or it would be equal to f2. So, this takes the graph of this would be like this. It is called as an increasing function. It is called as an increasing function. Okay, in that one, usually the curve would be like this. It is an increasing function. Now, let us come to the second part of this one. x1 less than x2 implies f of x1 is strictly less than f of x2. So, in this case, what happens here? The curve would be like this. There is continuous increase in the function. Isn't it? In the graph like this, it would be like this. That is, here we don't have the equality. So, as x increases, so y also gradually increases. Therefore, the graph looks like this. This is called as a strictly increasing function. It's called as a strictly increasing function. First one, when we had equality, it's called as an increasing function. Now, it is a strictly increasing function. Now, let me consider another one, the third type here. So, increasing two parts. One is strictly increasing, another is increasing. Increasing means it may increase, then it may maintain a certain level, again it may increase. So, generally we say x1 less than x2 implies f of x1 less than or equal to f of x2. It is an increasing function. If f of x1 less than x2 implies f of x1 strictly less than f of x2, that is there is strict inequality, there is no equality, then we call it as a strictly increasing function. Now the next one would be equal to, the third is x1 would be always, x would be always increasing, okay. x1 less than x2, if this implies f of x1 greater than or equal to f of x2, that is x would be increasing but y would be decreasing. So it may be like this, then maintain a level, it may come down like this. So we call it as a decreasing function. It's called as a decreasing function. Here it may decrease, then it may come to a particular level, again it may go down. So here that is why, because of the equality. So here when x1 is 1, say x1 is 1, let us take x2, there is f of x1 is maybe 10. So when x is 2, it has come down. Then when x is 3, see, because of the equality, the value for 3, 4, 5, it may have the same value. Because of the equality, we get a line parallel to the x-axis. Again the values may go on decreasing. So we call it as a decreasing function. Now take the fourth one. Fourth one, here we don't have the inequality. If we don't have the equality, it is a strict inequality. So for all x1 less than x2, or the values of x would be increasing, the values of y would be decreasing continuously like this. First I mentioned about the general definition, it is like this. So as x increases, y increases steadily, it is strictly increasing. If there is an increase, then a level, then again increasing, that is increasing. Similarly, decreasing, it decreases, then comes to a particular level, again it decreases. It is simply a decreasing function. That is, in that case now, decreasing and increasing, we have the equality. Strictly increasing, strictly decreasing, we have the pure inequality. So here, this is called as strictly decreasing function. Okay, strictly decreasing function. For all x1 less than x2, f of x1 would be strictly greater than. So for this one, first we have the higher value, then we come to the lesser value, lesser, like this it goes on decreasing. So these are the four types of increasing or decreasing functions, definitions we can consider. So either function would be increasing or decreasing, maybe strictly increasing or strictly decreasing. Now there is one more type here. Suppose you take an interval, okay. It may be like this. What can you say here? Can you say it is increasing or decreasing? Here it is increasing, then it is decreasing, again it is increasing. Suppose the interval is taken from here to here. What can you conclude here? Can you say it is an increasing function? Or can you say it is a decreasing function? Neither, isn't it? It is neither increasing nor decreasing. Suppose when you take an interval like this, suppose the interval is like this. If it is like this, we say strictly increasing function. So only the interval. Suppose it is like this, we say it is an increasing function. Suppose it is like this, we say strictly decreasing function. Or if it is like this, we say it is a decreasing function. Suppose in this interval, it would be like this. What can you say about this one? Here it is increasing, decreasing and increasing. So we cannot exactly say whether it is increasing or decreasing. So this type now we call it as strictly neither increasing nor decreasing. Okay. So while working out the problems also we should know that one. So this is generally, see, by considering the values of x and y now, we can define these things. But to know whether a function is increasing or decreasing, always we cannot draw the graph and find out, isn't it? Suppose an interval is given 0 to 2, let us assume. In that one, we have to give different values for x, we get different values for y, we have to draw the graph here, then we will know whether it is increasing or decreasing. Now, the application of the derivative comes into picture here. Each time, to know whether it is increasing or decreasing, we need not go on drawing the graph of that one. So the use of derivative is like this. Now there is a theorem here. There is a theorem of course the proof proof is we have to use the earlier one theorem which has been deleted here. So, I am give you the gist of the theorem. This theorem is important because whatever problems here afterwards we will be working out now, we will be using the statement of the theorem. Here we consider a function. Using the statement of the theorem we can work out the problem. Why I am giving the theorem is here, in this theorem I am mentioning about the derivative of the function. How you can find out whether a function is strictly increasing or strictly decreasing with the help of the derivative. So, the application of the derivative for this increasing and decreasing function comes into picture in this particular theorem here. So, what does the theorem say? The statement of the theorem is like this. Now, let f be a continuous function. Let f be a continuous function. Take some interval, say a comma b. Let f be a continuous function in the closed interval a comma b and be differentiable. Now, continuity on this one and may be differentiable in the open interval a comma b. So, consider a function f which is continuous in the closed interval a comma b and differentiable in the open interval a comma b. Then we give the statement of the theorem like this. First part of this one, f is strictly increasing. Here only strict increase or strict decrease we are considering. Strictly increasing, f is strictly increasing if f dash of x is greater than 0. F dash of x is greater than 0. So, first one is f is strictly increasing, of course on the given interval only. F is strictly increasing in the interval, closed interval a comma b, if f dash x is greater than 0. What do you mean by greater than 0? It is positive. That is, after finding the derivative, if you prove that it is a positive quantity, then you can come to the conclusion that the function is strictly increasing in the given interval a comma b. So, that interval is important here because even the definition of the strictly increasing decreasing I have given you in an interval I. Here I am taking a particular interval a comma b, it is a closed interval. So, f is strictly increasing if f dash x is greater than 0. Next, second part is f is strictly decreasing. The other part of that one, strictly increasing if f dash x is greater than 0 or positive. So, what is the other one? If f dash x is less than 0 or negative. Understand? So, f is strictly increasing. Here do not get confused. F is strictly increasing if f dash x, see the derivative comes into picture there. So, when you consider the derivative, if you see that it is a positive quantity, you can come to the conclusion that f is strictly increasing. Then f is strictly decreasing. When can you say? When f dash x is less than 0, or in other words it is a negative quantity. Now, what can be the third possibility? F is a constant function. F is a constant function. What is the other possibility? F dash x is equal to 0. Constant function means neither increasing nor decreasing. Because if it is greater than 0, you can say it is an increasing function. If it is less than 0, you can say it is a decreasing function. If it is exactly equal to 0, it is a constant function. We say it is neither increasing nor decreasing for each x belonging to the open interval. Okay, a closed interval a comma b I had considered. So, x we have taken for each x here belonging to the open interval a comma b. So, you take any point in the open interval where it is differentiable. These are the statement, different parts of the statement of the theorem here. So, when you consider a function f which is a continuous function in the closed interval a comma b and differentiable in the open interval a comma b, then if f dash x is greater than 0, f is strictly increasing. If f dash x is less than 0, it is strictly decreasing. If f dash x is exactly equal to 0, it is neither increasing nor decreasing. We call it as a constant function. We call it as a constant function. So, to work out the problem, this knowledge is enough. Okay, this knowledge we should have. So, because of the statement of this theorem only, we work out the problems. We can work out. See here what we do. We consider first derivative, see whether it is positive. If it is positive, we say it is a strictly increasing function. If it is less than 0, we say it is strictly decreasing. Now, only these two will be working out problem. This information also is used when I will tell you when we work out the problems here. Okay. Now this is the theory part. That's all here. We first define the general definition I have given you. As x increases, if y also increases, it is called an increasing function. Generally I am saying, I am not considering any interval or any such thing. If x is increasing, if y is also increasing, generally we say it is an increasing function. As x increases, if y decreases, it is a decreasing function. But the formal definition of increasing, strictly increasing, decreasing, strictly decreasing can be given considering an interval in the domain of the function. Okay. So, f be a real valued function, let I be the interval, then x1 less than x2 implies f of x1 less than f of x2 strictly increasing. F of x1 less than or equal to f of x2 the increasing. F of x1 greater than f of x2 strictly decreasing, and then f of x1 greater than or equal to f of x2 it is a decreasing function. So, in the interval sometimes a part may be increasing, a part may be decreasing. So, we say it is a neither increasing nor a decreasing function. It is we cannot consider either increasing or a decreasing function because both the things are happening in that particular interval. So, in working out the problems, no, sometimes for a 2-mark question, a simple function would be given. In that case, no, directly we can say whether it is increasing or decreasing. Now, but always remember the values of x would be always on the increasing mode. The values of x will be giving in the increasing way depending upon the values of y. Value increases, it is increasing. Value of y decreases, it is decreasing. So, it is general meaning you have to remember here. Now, while working out the problems, some problems I may, without using that fact, the statement of the theorem, we can prove that it is an increasing function. But maximum number of problems we make use of this statement of the theorem where we make use of the knowledge of the derivative, that is f dash x. Now, let me work out some problem here. The first problem is prove that the function, first problem, prove that the function f given by f of x is equal to 7x minus 3, f of x equal to 7x minus 3 is strictly increasing, on R. This is the problem. See, you have to prove that one. The answer is already given. You have to try to get that answer here. Prove that the function f of x defined by 7x minus 3 is strictly increasing on R. What do you mean by R here? R means it is the set of the real numbers. You observe here, you can give any value for x here, isn't it? Any real value for x here, you will be getting some real value for f of x, isn't it? So, it is f of x equal to 7x minus 3, it is continuous function. Already you learnt about the continuity of the function, it is a continuous function. Actually, when you draw the graph of this one, it is a straight line. In high school you may remember this one, even first PUC also we have taught you y equal to mx plus c. It is of that form only, no? Fx, instead of fx, suppose I write y equal to mx plus a, it is nothing but a straight line, okay? Nothing but a straight line here. So it is a continuous function. It is a continuous function. What we have to prove now is, you have to prove that it is strictly increasing. So what I do is, I consider two numbers. Let x1, x2 belong to R, because the domain of the function is the set of the real numbers. So I have taken 2 points x1 and x2 belonging to R, that means two real numbers x1 and x2. Now what would be f of x1? This is 7x1 minus 3, that is finding the value of the function at the point x1, that is all. And then what would be f of x2 equal to? It is 7x2 minus 3. So consider two numbers, real numbers x1 and x2. Then f of x1 is 7x1 minus 3, f of x2 is 7x2 minus 3. Only wherever x is there, I have written the values x1 and x2. 7, 3 are minus sign, all of them are constant, so they remain the same. Now x1 less than x2. See, out of these two, one will be smaller than the other one, isn't it? Now start with like this, x1 less than x2. What does it imply? You can write 7x1 less than 7x2. I hope you remember, in first year PUC, we have taught you about the inequalities, isn't it? In that one, the same number I am multiplying on both the sides of the inequality remains the same. So 7x1, x1 less than x2 implies 7x1 less than 7x2. That implies 7x1 minus 3 less than 7x2 minus 3. So what I have done here? I have multiplied both the numbers by the same number. If you write 7 here minus 7, this inequality will not be there. I have multiplied both the numbers by the same quantity. Now, what I have done here, I have taken out 3 from both the sides of the inequality. So, the inequality remains the same because same operation I am doing on both the sides of the inequality. But what are these quantities? This is nothing but f of x1 and this is f of x2, isn't it? So 7x1 minus 3 less than 7x2 minus 3, which is nothing but f of x1 less than f of x2. Now let me combine this one, that is x1 less than x2. What has it implied? It has implied that f of x1 less than f of x2. We have here always it is strict inequality. Here also we have got the strict inequality. Therefore, x1 less than x2 has implied f of x1 less than f of x2. So what is our conclusion? The function is strictly increasing on R, because you can give any value for x here. I have taken two general points here. You can take 1 and 4, okay, minus 2 and 3. Even real number, any real number, that is positive, negative, integer, rational number, irrational number, anything you can take, one would be less than the other two. Take two values which are not equal to each other. Take the smaller value and the bigger value here. So that implies that we have got here x1 less than x2 implies f of x1 strictly less than f of x2. So the conclusion is it is a strictly increasing function. Okay. So this is the procedure we adopt. Now let's move on to another problem. Same type of problem. Here f of x equal to 2x plus 17. F of x equal to 2x plus 17 is again strictly increasing R. You observe that it is also a linear equation which is nothing but a straight line here. So it is strictly, suppose you draw the graph of this one, okay, it would be a line like this. Then you know, because without drawing the graph, no, using the definition we are finding out. If you draw this line, no, you can see that there is no break in that one. You can extend that side and this side also. It would be a continuous function. There is no, we don't have any equality like that. It's continuously increasing. That is why we say it is strictly increasing. The same procedure here also we are adopting. Let x1, x2 belong to R. then x1 less than x2 implies first you multiply by this number which has been given to us in the function, in the definition of the function. So 2x1 multiplied by the same number less than 2x2 and add 17 to both the sides. 2x1 plus 17 less than 2x2 plus 17. So what is this one? When f of x is 2x plus 17, f of x1 is 2x1 plus 17, f of x2 is 2x2 plus 17. Just take the previous problem. So that implies that x1 less than x2 has implied f of x1 is strictly less than f of x2. Therefore, it is a strictly increasing function on what? On the set of the real numbers or the domain. Okay. Now, so both of the usually it is given for a 2-mark question because it's quite simple. We are just using the basic definition of the strictly increasing function. Now, another a little bit different problem here. Show that the function fx equal to x cube minus 3x square plus 4x is strictly increasing, again the same condition, is strictly increasing on R. Now here I use the statement of the theorem. In the earlier 2 problems, now what I did now, I used the definition of the strictly increasing function. x1 less than x2, if it implies f of x1 strictly less than f of x2, it is strictly increasing function, isn't it? Now, I am using the statement of the theorem to show that it is a strictly increasing function. Now, let me consider the derivative. For maximum problems, we use the derivative or the statement of the theorem. F dash x, what is f dash x? Here, nothing but differentiation. Here, the concept of the differentiation or the application of the derivative comes into picture. X cube becomes 3x square, 3 into x square becomes 2x, that is 6x, and 4x becomes 4. Correct? Now, let me write in an order. Here, I am not giving any value or taking 2 points x1, x2. Just using the statement of the theorem. According to the statement of the theorem, if the first derivative, that is f dash x, is greater than 0, it is a positive quantity, we can come to the conclusion that it is a strictly increasing function. So, I want to get here a positive quantity. For that, now you have to rearrange the terms here. 3x square minus 6x, this 4 you write it as 3 plus 1. Now, out of these 3, you take out a common factor, x square minus 2x plus 1, and write this one separately. What is this equal to? A square plus 2ab plus b square, that is, it is 3 into x minus 1 the whole square. This is f dash x. So, when you use the theorem, the differentiation comes into picture. Look at this, what we have got here. If you look at this one, we cannot come to any conclusion. Whether it is negative or positive, we cannot say definitely. So, what I have done is, without changing the value, I have written that derivative in a different way so that I can come to a conclusion here. Look at this quantity, plus 1, it is a positive number. 3 into x minus 1 whole square. What is the domain here? It is a set of the real numbers. When I say real number, positive, negative, both of them are included. Positive, negative, rational, irrational, all the numbers are included. Even if x is negative also, this is negative, but when you square, what happens? It becomes a positive quantity because of the perfect square here. So, what you can write? See, this is already plus 1, isn't it? So, 3 into a positive number plus 1. Now, this is strictly greater than 0. In other words, it is positive for all x belonging to R. Correct? For all x belonging to R. That means any real value you give here, though it may be negative inside the bracket, because we are squaring that one, it becomes a positive quantity. So, what you can conclude now? It is because f dash x is greater than 0, you write We need not write because of the theorem and all, because a standard statement f dash x is greater than 0 for all x belonging to R. But the writing the conclusion is very important. Therefore, you write the function is a strictly increasing function on R or on the set of the real numbers. So, this is the procedure we adopt. Okay. So, when it is here, why I am using the theorem is, we have been given a quadratic function, a polynomial. In the earlier two problems also polynomial, but they were linear function. Degree was 1. So, taking two values x1 and x2, using the basic definition of the increasing function, we can come to the conclusion. Whereas here it is a bit, because it is a quadratic function we had here, we have to adopt this method, that is, you have to make use of the statement of the theorem. Another problem here, show that the function f of x equal to x cube minus 3x square plus 3x minus 100 is again an increasing function on the set of the real numbers. Here also I am considering only set of real numbers. So, here as it is, we cannot say, taking x1, x2, we cannot come to any conclusion. So, let me differentiate. F dash x equal to, it is 3x square minus 6x plus 3, that is 0. 100 is a constant, it becomes 0. Now, take out 3 as common factor. What is remaining? X square. Here it is 2x, here it is 1. Again, just like the previous problem, you can write it as 3 into x minus 1 the whole square. In the previous problem, we had 1, even that is not here. You observe 3 is a positive number, and whatever may be the value of x here, for any real value, even the negative numbers are included. Even if it is negative, this whole thing becomes negative, because of the squaring of that one, it becomes a positive quantity. Therefore, f dash x is greater than 0 for all x belonging to R. Therefore, what is our conclusion? It is a strictly increasing function on the set of the real numbers. So, when a linear function was given, we took two values x1 and x2, taking x1 to be less than x2, using the basic definition of the increasing function, we could arrive at the conclusion. Whereas the other one, when higher degree polynomial functions are given, you differentiate and make use of the statement of the theorem, and then we find the result. Whatever we wanted to prove here, we have proved the result. So, in the coming sessions of about this particular topic of the chapter, I am working out some more problems in this one. Either I will be finding out they are increasing or decreasing, or in which interval it is increasing, which interval it would be decreasing, like this. So, we will meet in the next session. Thank you.